North American Rally Racing, they are the ones to beat. When the season opened at Quebec City in February, the defending champions Frank and Dan Sprongel began their drive for a 6th Canadian championship in winning style. The challenge was expected to come from Team Subaru, piloted by Tom and Trish McGeer. Their Impreza led early, but brake problems caused delays, and they could finish no better than 4th. Sylvain Vincent, Dominic Cyr drive a less powerful production GT class, Eagle Talon. The icy roads put the Quebec pair on even footing with their more powerful competition. Vincent would skid and slide his way to 2nd place. Yet despite the efforts of McGeer and Vincent, the big Audi S2 was proven unbeatable. And 1999 would continue that trend. 14 days later, the championship moved to Pembroke, Ontario for round 2. The roads were even icier, and everyone had trouble spinning and going off the road. The finishing order would be determined by the consequences of those mistakes. Sylvain Vincent got stuck in a snowbank and spent 5 minutes digging out. The snowbanks didn't stop Tom McGeer. Too bad. Another victory for Sprongel, another 2nd for Vincent. And Canadian Rally fans are asking, can anyone catch Frank Sprongel? If they can, the challenge has to come from Sylvain Vincent or Tom McGeer. Real roads, real tracks. It's the Subaru Canadian Rally Championship on TSN. Hello again, everyone. Vic Rudder along with rally expert Paul Chater, and that's not Paul, that's a Bighorn. Although you are the big man when it comes to rallying in our country.
Thank you, Vic. The rally teams have traveled to the land of the Bighorn sheep here in Hinton, Alberta, just outside the famous Jasper National Park. They're here for the Bighorn Rally Round 3 of the Subaru Canadian Rally Championship.
Rallying on TSN is brought to you in part by Yokohama Performance Radials. Now you've got control. And by Subaru, the beauty of all-wheel drive. They are 2 for 2 in 99, and on the start line, Frank and Dan Sprongel, the Audi Quattro S2, and wearing number 2, Paul, because the number 1 spot was left vacant as a tribute to the local rally driver, Walter Peterson, who was killed during the Shield of Africa rally last fall.
Here the Sprongels approaching this right hairpin. Now, pretty harmless spin, but what caught him by surprise was a huge mud hole that's right at the apex of the turn. He saw that just coming over the rise. He didn't lose too much time. Barry and Sandra Latreille will take the start as number 3. They're favorites with the fans because their 400 horsepower talent is always driven to the limit. Unfortunately, what makes them popular also causes a few crashes and some DNFs.
Not the kind of reputation you'd like to carry, but they're always in it, and you can see the lack of sponsorship. This is a totally private entry. The Latreilles, Tom and Trish McGeer from Georgetown, Ontario, in their Subaru Impreza WRX. 3-time Canadian champions, entered by Subaru of Canada and using Pirelli tires.
And Tom figures he's giving away about 30 horsepower to the Sprongels. These Bighorn roads are always very fast, so power will certainly be a factor.
Now remember that hairpin and the mud bog that they're about to hit, and I'm wondering if line becomes something here. Do you try to avoid the mud, or do you try just to plow right through it?
Well, it would be better if he stayed out a little wider, which he's doing. That was a wise move. He's not getting bogged down in it. As more cars go through it, it'll get more difficult to go through.
And that wide line was the smart way around, because McGeer wins the stage by 3 seconds.
Car number 4, Sylvain Vincent, Dominic Cyr from La Plaine, Quebec. Their Eagle Talon runs in production GT, which means the engine is essentially stock, about 220 horsepower. That's low, but Sylvain says it won't be too bad on these roads where carrying a high speed is more important than having that brute acceleration out of slow corners. Their performance on the first 2 rallies of the year has attracted a new sponsor to the team. Yokohama is backing them in addition to the Sprongels.
again, here comes this hairpin and this sippy hole.
Sippy hole's a good description, and you can see how much time he lost getting through that, where the McGears stayed out wide.
Lee Shadbolt and Claire Chisma are the top-ranked Subaru team in the United States, and they brought their Impreza to Canada to win some of the contingency prize money.
Eric Tremblay, Jean-Francois Guittet are also racing in a Subaru. Number 8, as are the Painter brothers from Nova Scotia, the Subaru Legacy. All 3 teams are in the production GT category.
So as we check the leaderboard after 2 stages, Sprongel won one, McGear the other. Sprongel's up by a couple of seconds. In Group 2, for 2-wheel drive cars, it's being led by the Alberta team of Gord and Kathy Olson in their Golf GTI. Welcome back to the Bighorn Rally, organized by the Northern Alberta Sports Car Club. And this special stage, Paul, is 6.5 kilometers in length, stage 3.
And you can see how fast the roads are. They're in great condition.
Frank and Dan Sprongel leading by 2 seconds as they begin this 3rd stage.
And here are the Latrays and their Eagle Talon. Now, Vic, imagine hanging on to 400 horsepower on loose gravel and on a very fast road. Some rallies are tight, technical kinds of stages. The Bighorn, wide roads, fast, smooth. It takes a little bit more than horsepower. It takes a lot of bravery to go fast around here.
Sandra was saying go left, go left. Oh, and Barry does a great job managing to hold on to it.
He did hang on, got a little behind in his steering, but he managed to catch it.
And as they come up to the split time, you can see that the Latrays now are 15 seconds behind the Sprongel. So that wobble definitely costs him. Here are the McGears.
Now I see Tom's even lifting the inside front wheel up off the surface. He was sliding sideways with all that horsepower with 3 wheels on the ground.
So how do you get the power to the ground? It's an inconsistent surface at best.
Well, that's the beauty of 4-wheel drive on a road like this. Watch him again through this turn, hard on the brakes, then a nice long slide.
Coming up to his split time, and it's 3:01, 3:02. Second fastest. 3 seconds off the Sprongel time, and he's losing about a half second per kilometer.
Here are Vincent and Cyr in their Eagle Talon. There's a funny story here about their wiper blades. They were jammed in the upright position, so Dominique rigged up a string that ran through both windows so she could pull it back and forth in case they went through another water hole. At the service, they found out what the problem was. A mechanic had dropped a screwdriver and it lodged in the wiper motor.
Coming up to their split time, Vincent and Cyr, 3:09, 3rd fastest, 7 seconds behind McGear, currently in 2nd place.
And here is the Shadbolt Impreza.
Lee Shadbolt, Claire Chisma, the top-ranked Subaru team from the United States who have come north of the 49th.
And you can see the difference that a production car makes. Definitely not as quick.
As we ride along with Tremblay and Guittet in their Subaru, interesting that, you know, we always focus so much on the leaders. In this case, the Sprongels and the McGears and the Latrays, but there's racing within racing in all these rallies.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a huge budget. I mean, as we watch painters from Nova Scotia come through, these cars are basically stock. They've got safety modifications, and they're running for about $1,500 first place prize money in their class. So they're definitely, although they don't have the horsepower, they are still driving as hard as they can in a basically stock car.
Jeff Smith from Beaumont, Alberta, and Bob Burton from Regina were highly competitive in production GT in their 12-year-old Subaru until a flat tire caused them problems on stage 3. But they're just going to tough it out, huh?
The difficulty when you have a flat is how close are you to the end of the stage? Are you going to lose more time by changing it, or are you going, or is it better just to ride it out to the finish?
It looks like the bent fender may cause them the biggest problem. Gord Olson continued to lead all Group 2 cars and many of the four-wheel drive machines in his VW Golf.
Olson's been rallying a long time, but he only contests the events in Western Canada. Some of the two-wheel drive hot shoes in Quebec and Ontario should be thankful that they don't have to contend with Gord Olson for the rest of the season.
And at the end of the stage, well, the co-drivers compare notes, and no problems for the leaders.
Yeah, the car's running pretty good today. The roads are really, really fast, so we're just stretching its legs. It's in fifth gear all the time, flat out, and we're just playing around with the suspension settings a little bit, trying to get it to ride over the ruts a bit better. So we're hoping to be able to pick up some speed later.
To say the least, rallying can be a rough ride, especially for the co-driver, trying to concentrate, look at the book, navigate over those rough roads. Trish McGeer has been doing it for 15 years, developed motion sickness. She tried all the drugs until she found out what it really was, a pain in the neck.
The co-driver's neck needs to be stronger than the average individual because of the G-forces that they're subjected to for an extended period of time during a rally event. It's not something that they can take a break from. That's part of their sport-specific demand on their body.
Dr. Harper studied videotape of Trish in the car
10 hard laps
and found that during a 47-second segment, her head and her neck jolted once per second.
Well, about 2 years ago, I was getting a lot of headaches in the rally car, and the headaches seemed to lead to a lot of nausea, and it just got progressively worse. And I sat out for a few rallies last year to see if, you know, that would help. And then when I got back in the car, it just kept on happening. So I decided that I better seek some treatment for it.
Dr. Harper uses something called active release technique. It's a deep massage kind of thing which frees up her neck muscles. He's also recommended that Trish go to a lighter helmet, no front face like her husband uses, also a neck brace, keeps her neck a little more still. And she's still in the sport she loves. The leader after 4 stages, the Sprockles.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the rally of the Bighorn, counted down by Dan Sprongel as we ride along. Always amazes me, Paul, how loose the grip is on the steering wheel.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be, or you would wear your arms out. If you were hanging on too tight, you wouldn't last 2 stages. You have to have the wheel fluid in your hand so that you can make fast adjustments, as he's doing right now. But Vic, I'll bet you never thought a quality needed in a rally driver was to be a good dancer. Watch the speed across those pedals.
Foot left opens into right. To right. Into 300 medium left. Time at 10. 200 time at 10 medium left. Foot left, left, foot left into right.
And how he feathers the throttle. And in that way, does that help get the power down?
Yeah, he's adjusting for the conditions which are constantly changing. You're going from hard-packed dirt to loose gravel, from fast turns to tighter ones. He's trying to ride the car in the absolute limit, and that requires fine adjustments with the throttle.
Straight over, straight over.
For that one moment, he was able to put his left foot away from either of the pedals for maybe a 5-second span. That's about all the rest that those feet have.
And that's on a dead pedal, which is on the far left, and he's using it more often than not as a brace.
Foot rough man, straight over, foot rough man.
Interesting that even on the straights, he's stabbing the brake.
Yeah, he's changing the balance of the car by doing that, shifting the weight forward. Watch, he comes to the crest of the hill, put the brakes on just lightly. It shifts the weight to the front, gives him a little bit more grip, and is more likely to keep the car stable as it lightens up going over the hill.
250 chicane, time at 10 chicane, and to left.
You heard him said chicane. A chicane had been added here to slow the speed below 120 kilometers per hour.
Very fast.
And if you hit any of those cones, it's a 15-second penalty.
And Vic, we should mention that on this fast rally, that's 120 kilometer per hour average for the stage. On these long straightaways, the Sprockles are hitting 200 kilometers an hour in 5th gear.
Look now he's actually throwing it to the right to go left.
Pendulum move to get the tail out so that he can control the slide through the turn.
Into 200, hard right. And there, hard right, hard right. Okay.
Losing all the road and then some.
Into left.
Actually got it down in the gully a little bit.
Into right. Into right. Foot right.
Coming up now to the flying finish, and it's all gas here.
100 meters.
And through, and now he's got to get it stopped. Frank and Dan Sprongel.
And the Latrays removed the hood to solve an overheating problem, but they wouldn't last long. A bolt fell out of the gearbox, drained all the oil, and Barry retired rather than ruin a $20,000 transmission.
When the cars arrive at service, Paul, we always see them changing tires, sometimes after only 30 or 40K.
The tires, they're still excellent. They only have about 10 stages on them, about 100 kilometers of stages, maybe a little less. We're just changing them for a precaution. The tires do get damaged. We're just going to put on new tires to make up a little bit of time and also to make sure we don't get any flats. The sharper edges will make about a second a kilometer, maybe 1.5 seconds a kilometer difference between the used tire and the new tire.
Gear Subaru is running fast, but they've lost the brake caliper on the right front wheel, so they only have brakes on 3 wheels, which is slowing them more than a little.
Now, when earlier we watched the Sprongles, and you said that sometimes they'll use the brakes to transfer weight, they'll use the brakes maybe to set the car up going in. How will this lack of a caliper affect that kind of movement?
Well, it's going to make it very difficult setting up for turns for him when he's only getting braking on one of the front wheels. Now, that would be critical on a rally that had tight, twisty roads, but this is a very fast one. Now, let's watch him set up in a perfect 4-wheel drift coming into this turn. He turns into the corner first, and now he is applying a little left foot braking. The tail's starting to swing out, and he's correcting it, but he's fighting the instinct to overcorrect it because he's trying to get lateral movement on all 4 wheels down onto the third. Expert.
Oh, we lost the brake. The caliper broke off right at the end of, I don't know, stage 5 or 6 or something like that. And we just didn't have time in service to change it, so we ended up having to drive 3, almost 4 stages without the front right brake. This made it a bit exciting. We were at the brake a lot earlier for some of the corners. Lost a fair amount of time in there. So we're going to see where we are at this service here and see whether we can fight back or not, and just play it by ear from there.
10 minutes, new front right caliper, no problem. And after 10 stages, Frank Sprongel has stretched out a 51-second lead. McGear's brakes are fixed. Now he has to try and catch the outing. 7 stages to go in the classes. Gord Olson has his VW in 5th overall to lead Group 2. Dave Sharp and Dwight Heck from Edmonton are second in Group 2 for Mazda.
Local drivers Magic O'Brockie and Michael Nichols are third in a Honda Civic.
Production GT is being led by Sylvain Vincent, Dominique Sear. They'll be switching to Subaru when the championship moves back east next month.
Jeff Smith and Bob Burton are having a great run in their old Subaru RX Turbo, 4th overall, 2nd in class.
Eric Tremblay, Jean-Francois Guité have their Impreza 3rd in GT. Welcome back to the Bighorn Rally here on TSN. Vic Roeder along with Paul Chater. 51 seconds is the lead for the Sprongles. He says he's not going quite as fast, but I don't know if you can do that, can you?
Well, as soon as you relax your concentration, you increase the chances of having a crash. So what he does is turn the boost down on the turbocharger, so has a little less horsepower, but he's still driving just as hard.
And then there are the McGears trying to make up the ground. Look at the crack through the windshield. Rocks. These cars take a pounding, and there you see Trish now with the open face helmet, the neck brace, no motion sickness, maybe sick of the fact that she's 51 seconds behind.
And Vic, that cracked windshield was not caused by a rock. That's a stress fracture. So if it's doing that to the car, you can imagine what it does to the drivers.
Now on these last few stages, the McGears win a stage. Problem is that when they win a stage by 2 or 3 seconds, the Sprongles are winning their stages by 25 seconds. So catching up for the McGears is kind of tough. Frank and Dan Sprongel and gaffer tape, some kind of tape on that left front fender.
It suspiciously looks like a piece of chicane.
Oh, so they clobbered one, did they?
He clobbered one, but even with the 15-second penalty, they're still out ahead.
There's no denying it. You can't lie as we go back on board with the McGears.
You can see the dirt, the dust on the camera lens. They're eating that.
And, you know, they must be a little frustrated. They've had a terrific run today, Tom and Trish McGear, but they just cannot catch that Audi.
And it has to be frustrating, Vic. I mean, Tom has won 5 of the stages on this event. He's beaten the Sprongels in the past. But on a very fast rally such as this, maybe the 30 horsepower that the Audi has over the Subaru is making the difference. Or maybe it's down to driver technique. Some drivers are better on tight, twisty rallies, and some who have that courage are a little better on these fast ones.
And we've seen that in other forms of racing. When you look at championship auto racing, the short ovals, the super speedways, road courses. But right now, it would seem that the Sprongels, Frank Sprongel, just, I don't know, sometimes, if you're the McGears, you look at your times and go, my goodness, I've beaten him by 5 seconds here, and then the Audi comes back and thumps you by 30.
Yeah, and overall, there's less than a 1% difference in their times. And the problem for the McGears is, where do we find it?
And is it in something like this? In corners, for example? Is it in a corner, out of a corner?
30 hairpin
Is
left.
it Trish McGear and the way she navigates? Where do they find that little bit extra to give them the consistency to win?
It's everything all rolled into one, including, and don't forget, the reliability of the vehicle.
And, you know, that's unfortunate. If you are the McGears, you have to maybe hope for the unreliability of that Audi. And so far, there hasn't been much. So the Sprongels win again. But McGear, as we say, has to be happy. 50 championship points. They'll meet again at the Rocky Mountain Rally in Calgary. The final results. Another top 3 finish for Sylvain Vincent. Another win in GT class. Congratulations to Albertans Jeff Smith, Gord Olson, who rounded the top 5. And after 3 events, here are the championship standings. A reminder, we're back with you on July 10th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time with the Rocky Mountain Rally from Calgary. TSN's coverage of the Bighorn Rally has been brought to you in part by Yokohama Performance Radials. Now, you've got control. And by Subaru, the beauty of all-wheel drive. Want more information on rallying? Try CARS, the Canadian Association of Rally Sport on the World Wide Web. Now for Paul Chater and our entire crew, I'm Vic Roeder. Thanks for joining us. Until we talk with you from Calgary, goodbye from the Bighorn.